Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Plotlines. I'm your host, Connor. I wanted to make this video for a couple of reasons. First of all, I want to welcome all my new subscribers. I want this to be a place where we can interact and you can tell me what you think about things, and I'll discuss it with you and that sort of thing because I want this to be a community where we can do that sort of thing. I've built a Discord for that reason, and I will be coming out with a Telegram for that reason as well. People have been voting on their preference, and it just seems like it's so split that it seems apt to make a make both. Let's appease everyone. And I know there are some people that don't want to be a part of that, and that's fine. I respect that. I respect your decision regarding that. So thank you all for joining this channel and helping me to produce this content. I am grateful, and by no means expected anybody to subscribe. I think I need to work hard to be worthy of people's subscriptions. So thank you for thinking me worthy of it. Now, we're also going to be going into the topics of this channel and the purpose of it because I think a lot of people can look at the variety of the content on this channel and not see the purpose, not see why it or how it connects. And I think there's a big connection. It's not just because I say this is plot lines, so if it has a story, then it fits the channel, which that's my quick way of describing it, but I think there's a little more to it. What is story? What is the purpose of stories? And really, culture is at the center of it. We want to build culture here. Culture is in the tank, in the toilet, I should say. At the moment, it's just absolutely disgusting. You can't go, without you can't watch TV without seeing commercials that are absolutely terrible, that are advocating for evils such as uh, um, same-sex marriage or transgenderism, which are just two things right off the bat: abortion, uh, forcing people, basically incentivizing people to uh, force other people into medical procedures and that sort of thing. These are just examples of our culture in decline, as well as we have, hookup culture. Uh, Porn is a huge uh, disaster for our world. There are just so many things that are a problem with our culture at the moment. That's when our faith, our lack of faith. Faith is incredibly important, and it is just thrown away by this young generation, my generation. It it it, it pains me to see people basically trade in being a servant of God for a servant of corporations, servant of the agenda, corporations to self pleasure, or sorry, servant of self pleasure. It's all going to just lead to misery and ruin, and our culture, our civilization, Christendom, that has basically been destroyed, but it will collapse completely if there's no a reversion, return to tradition. That that's in some way, especially regarding the culture, is the purpose is one of the purposes of this channel, of this podcast. I want to highlight good culture. I want to highlight good books. I want people to find good entertainment and good learning, and I want people to create more of these things. And I know some people have reached out to me to share their own creations, and I want to get to reviewing things that people don't know about, though I think that will come in time as this podcast grows. You can't show people things that they don't want to see in some sense, or won't look for, if you don't already have people's attention. And that's the point of growing a channel. You need to gain attention. I'm very undeserving of that attention, but that is how you get good culture in front of the eyes of people who are yearning for it. And that's one of the ways I want to be effective in this podcast. Culture is important, and not just highlighting or reforming. So criticizing as well as, reforming is part of that, is criticizing culture and highlighting things that are, not amazing, but have good elements, because that's part of it. We can't highlight. That's why I'm saying highlighting good culture is in one corner. It's one part of it. Reforming culture, which is criticizing where culture has gone wrong, and in the mediums that it's gone wrong. So that's like talking about movies that aren't, that have some good elements, but there's a lot of bad too, and that sort of thing. So if you that kind of goes into, like, when I go into talking about Person of Interest, that TV show, and my criticisms, either even of Clarkson's Farm. There's some negatives to that show, insofar as the amount of bad language that could easily be avoided. But I also think it really is reality TV, so they're just talking like they normally would. And there are certain I'm willing to accept vulgar language in certain circumstances, but I don't think you should be throwing it out there constantly. Now, next element of culture that is important for us to understand is history. And that is really going to be looked at from a Catholic perspective. Of course, all of culture is being covered on plot lines from a Catholic perspective. This is a Catholic podcast. Not to say that I will never allow non-Catholics on, or to discuss things with non-Catholics. I think that's an important aspect of actual dialogue, of arguing, sort of confronting the arguments and discussing them. So talking or learning history from a Catholic perspective, that some I've done a lot of episodes with Charles Coulomb. He's one of my favorite historians. I want to do more interviews with historians. And part of growing culture is having conversations. That's why I do so many interviews. I want to have as many interviews as I possibly can with good people, and with people who have great ideas and want to achieve something, and not tear things down. So, then we have political theory and political discussion amongst Catholics. I think this is an important aspect of plot lines that is sort of in some sense, it's covering, uh, aspects of the news or aspects of culture that aren't talked about, especially in political ways and Catholic ways. So there's so in some sense that's talking about how politics is how society should run, how it should be administered, and there's a lot of interesting topics regarding that. I think I've done that a lot with Vendée Radio. We've talked about the the British monarchy. We've talked about religion in uh, in the United Kingdom and how that's affected the society as a whole and how that affects politics as a whole. And also, we have discussions about church politics insofar as sort of what makes a good bishop. I've interviewed Bishop Joseph Strickland on the podcast, and that was very enjoyable interview. Even talking with Gavin Ashenden, he is coming from an ecclesial position, a church position when he was in the Church of England, and how he sees corruption in that, and how we can how the Catholic Church can get rid of corruption and that sort of thing. Now, there's theological elements that I also want to go into with interviews. There's just so much of culture that is your world. I mean, culture is the worldview that you have, and then that is put into arts. Most people think of that as arts and entertainment and that sort of thing when it comes to culture, but really, culture is the worldview, and then that is infused into your art. I want to create culture, which means I want to write novels. And one of the great aspects of having this channel is that I can share that art, those creations with my audience. And obviously there will be a lot of people that maybe won't want to read my book when it comes to it, or books when it comes to it. But a lot of this stuff isn't necessarily hindering or sort of held up upon that. It is just one possible byproduct that you may listen to my conversations, listen to my podcast, get to know how I think and how other people that I admire or disagree with, how they think, and how that affects culture. And then all the stuff I've learned will be infused, and my worldview will be infused into my art. And then hopefully people will enjoy that. And we need good art. It's just we do. We need good art, and I want on maybe one day I can help support more people and help provide them the opportunity to make good art. I would love to make movies in some sense, not necessarily like the producing, but you know, being a participant in some way, maybe writing them, working with people like that to make entertainment, make documentaries or something like that about history. There's so many things that could be done with plot lines. That's why there are so many different types of content on this channel. And I want to bring that content to all of you so we can help restore civilization, restore culture. So I hope you will all stay with me or be with me for the whole ride, and I hope more people will join in the future. And really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for supporting me. one day there might be a way of financially supporting me, but currently subscribing, sharing, commenting, leaving, if you're on podcasts, leaving reviews, 5-star review would be most appreciative, and just telling people that like culture, that like entertainment, because everyone does have everyone has certain things that they like, and I hope to, grow in my knowledge of entertainment and help provide, reviews and discussions on all the topics people want to hear about. So please tell me what you think about this. Tell me what your opinion of this purpose of plot lines is, and tell me what you want me to cover. I want to hear from you, and that's the great thing about this community is I want to interact with all of you is in on whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on podcasts, whether it be on possibly Rumble and stuff, other platforms like that, or in Discord or in Telegram in the future. So thank you all for watching and have a blessed day. Bye.